Welcome back, Goku-san DBZ, and this is, in my opinion, 10 underrated games for the PlayStation 3. With that said, I have 3 honorable mentions. First up was the attempted reboot back in 2008 to the Prince of Persia series. Personally, I like this game more than many people out there. I can honestly say that, very much so. But unfortunately, it would prove to not be super successful, which is unfortunate as I actually thought it had promise. What remains to be seen in the future, though, for the Prince of Persia series. Also, I know it gets quite a bit of hate. It's not a great game overall, at least compared to other games in the Thief series, but personally, I still enjoy this game. I mean, if you like a game with some stealth and stuff, it still does the job. And frankly, you can get this game dirt cheap, so I do consider it somewhat underrated, or rather, I consider it overhated. But that's just my perspective on it. Last of the honorable mentions is, I think, actually a pretty solid overall first person shooter developed by Insomniac Games, and that is Fuse. This game is actually interesting. I can see why maybe a lot more of the mainstream FPS fans probably didn't appreciate Fuse, but I actually liked it and everything. I actually think it's pretty fun for the most part. Gameplay is solid, and just in general, I had a good time. And honestly, I don't know why more people don't talk about this game, as actually I think it's one of the more interesting FPS experiences on the PlayStation 3, but who knows. Coming in first at number 10 is a game I think that is criminally underrated. For me, at number 10 is PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale. I love the fact also you have, of course, DLC characters like Cat with Dusty, of course, representing Gravity Rush, or Gravity Days if you're in Japan. But with that said, I like it for what it is. I actually like the fact Heihachi is in the game playable. Also, I like the fact you can play with Kratos, many other interesting characters from other franchises, as well as Sly Cooper and many others. And I got a kick out of the main boss of the game. Be fair, I actually like the main boss in this game more than the main bosses in most of the Smash games. I think this game is criminally underrated and overlooked, and it actually should get a lot more love than it does. Personally, I think it's a solid, great game. Keep in mind, this is also coming from someone who bought the game twice, PS3 and for Vita. But I do highly recommend it if you want an interesting, unique experience that's not quite the same as you would get from a traditional Smash clone, and that's where I think this game excels. Plus, the stage transitions and everything also makes it a lot more interesting, and I prefer the mechanics personally. Coming in at number 9, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. My probably second favorite Sly Cooper game in the franchise. Personally, I think this game is truly criminally underrated, and it deserves a lot more love than it gets in general. That's how I feel about the entire Sly Cooper series, as it is arguably one of my personal favorite action platformer series, especially of the 7th console generation. By far, probably my favorite at the time platformer franchise in that era. And I absolutely love this game, and I do highly recommend it, as this game has, I felt for myself anyways, gotten better with time. I think it is aged better than most of the other Sly Cooper games. I get why maybe some people don't like this game, but personally, I love it, and I highly recommend to anyone. If you've played any Sly Cooper games or you like action platformers, give this game a shot. It is genuinely great and criminally underrated. Coming in next at number 8. Gonna be a somewhat, I'm sure, hot take, but for me, at 8 is Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. It's not a super great game by any means, at least compared to traditional Mortal Kombat, but I think this game gets way too much hate. personally. I think the gameplay is actually pretty solid overall, and you can really tell from the transitions in the story mode, you can really see where the beginnings of what we would see in Injustice, Gods Among Us, and all the future NetherRealm games, as this was the last Midway developed game in the series. And I still find it quite fun, and I like the fact that you can play with some of your all-time favorite MK characters, and even if you maybe don't like the heroic brutalities and some of the horrible fatalities and stuff in it, but still, I enjoy it for what it is, and even with the kind of stupid design of Dark Khan, I still like it. So, take that what you will, but like I said, this game doesn't deserve near the amount of hate it gets. Honestly, more people need to give this game a shot. That's the thing, I try to go into games with an open mind. I feel is the best way to go about it. Next up is arguably one of the greatest, most over-the-top action games of all time, coming in at number 6. Personally, I really like it, and I don't know why, or coming in at number 7, is Ashura's Wrath, a superb great game that has been starting to go up in price lately. That's unfortunate, as this game is great, and the over-the-top action and everything is just ridiculous. It's hilarious, but it's also a blast to play. And I do highly recommend, if you want like a non-stop, insanely over-the-top action game, you can't do any better than Ashura's Wrath, developed by Capcom. And I hope eventually we get Ashura in a game as a guest character, like maybe in Street Fighter 6 or something. I would love that. And I just hope more people actually give this game a shot. It is arguably probably one of my favorite Capcom games in the past 10 to 15 years, easily. It is probably one of the best action games, definitely of the 7th console generation, bar none. More people really need to try this game out. Coming in at number 6, Batman Arkham Origins, which is my second favorite Arkham game, and I'll be honest, I don't like Arkham Knight. For me, though, maybe somewhat controversial, number 1 for me is personally Asylum. Number 2 for me is Origins, as this is a great game, and I like the voice actors they chose. Do definitely sound like younger versions of themselves from the actual animated series. I actually liked especially the voice actor who did Joker in Origins. I thought he definitely sounded like a younger version of Mark Hamill, and that was perfect. Same for the guy who did the voicing of Batman. I felt like he did a very good loyal job to the now passed away, of course, the all-time great Kevin Conroy. But with that said, for me, more people need to give Arkham Origins a shot, as the characters in the game and stuff are fun. I love it. I especially like the fact they introduced some characters that are much at the time younger and newer characters to the Batman universe. That is appreciated. And overall, I just think the gameplay of this game is what makes it excel, but I also very much enjoyed the story in Origins. I think more people need to try this game. If you consider yourself a Batman or DC fan in general, you definitely need to give Origins a shot, and the fact you can get very reasonably priced is another good reason to give it a shot. Coming in for me, personally, at number 5, Silent Hill Downpour. By now, I am one of the biggest advocates and defenders of Downpour, and I think this game truly gets way too much distaste and hate. I get it, maybe not as great a selection of actual creatures in the game, but for the most part, I actually, and not necessarily one of the greatest, but you get it psychologically, why things play out the way they do with specifically the main character you play with in this game. But I actually liked and enjoyed, especially the side mission stuff. That is where I had the most fun, and the fact this is an open world. This was your like an open world attempt at Silent Hill, and I actually thought it did great. Arguably has the best side quest I think in the series, because a lot of the Silent Hill games didn't have a huge amount of side quests and stuff, but the side quests and everything involved can pay off sometimes for specific items and things you will get for doing that quest. Take my word, that is one of the areas where this game excels. And I think Silent Hill Downpour should be on the top of a lot of people's modern horror game playlists. And I will continue to push for more people to give this game a shot, as it is genuinely great. And I had a lot more fun with this than I could say at least probably 3 Silent Hill games I would put this over personally. But with that said, on to number 4. A game that was really the game that got me into trying out Arc System Work games. It wasn't Guilty Gear for me, it was Under Night in Birth. This game still remains one of my personal favorite games. It is pretty much up there at the very tip top of like my favorite Arc System Work games. Up there with Grand Blue. But this game is great. The art style, I love the character designs and everything. Like the main boss is so. Not one of Arc's best designed bosses, but the gameplay is where this game excels. The art style is great. I love the soundtrack. In general, this is probably one of the best, more modern 2D fighting games in my opinion. And I think more people need to give Under Night in Birth a fair shot. Coming in at number 3 is probably the most charming game on this list, at least for me. And that is Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Which is a great game. The art style, direction, the clips and everything in the game feel like it literally just came out of a Studio Ghibli Hayao Miyazaki film. And that is nothing but positive in my book, as Miyazaki is my favorite anime creator of all time. His imagination excels. Most of my favorite anime movies of all time were done by him, especially things like Spirited Away, which also have an announcement for at the end of this video. But seriously, give Ni no Kuni a shot, as well as heck, check out Ni no Kuni 2. For me, second to last, number 2, is Remember Me. A great action game from Capcom that I actually think excels. I love the customization. You can unlock and do custom combos in the game. Plus, I love the fact, sadly, it doesn't implement more than like 4 or 5 times in the game, which sucks. But the reason why it's called Remember Me, you can actually mess with and manipulate and change people's actual memories of some events and things that happen to them. Very interesting concept. I wish they could have gone farther, and I wish this game would have gone a sequel. I think it's a great, at least from the story aspect and the design overall, the world is great. It takes place like a futuristic Neo Paris, which is also really cool. You don't see that much at all. So I like it. A futuristic, like, sci-fi setting in Paris. You don't really see that often in something like that. So I actually appreciate it, and for some of its originality, and like I said, the customization of the game is where this game really excels. I like the main character. I think she's pretty cool. And I think more people need to give Remember Me a fair chance. This is a game that has a lot of fun, especially if you like really good, solid overall combat. Then you're going to enjoy this, because that is one of the areas where this game really shines. Number 1 is a game, it's a very twisted and demented, very dark take on the characters, but to be fair, the books themselves were nearly as light as the most versions we know of, like from Disney and things. But with that said, for me, coming at number 1, I think underrated games, when I think of PS3, I look no farther than Alice Madness Returns. It's a very unique, very dark, and mature rated take on Alice in Wonderland, and basically Alice is a psychopath, like a serial killer psychopath. But I like it for it. It tried something very unique and different, very twisted, very dark, and that is why I love this game so much. And I think that's why it has such a hardcore, loyal cult following compared to other games of this time period. There really is no other game. Now, technically, this was a sequel of another game, which I have not had the chance to actually play the first game. I would love to if I ever get the chance. But with that said, if you get a chance to try out Alice Returns Madness, or rather Madness Returns, give it a shot. You may be surprised, and you will definitely be surprised at how dark, gruesome, and mature rated this version of, well, this take on Wonderland is very unique and different, to say the least. The Cheshire Cat is very freaky looking in this game, but I love this game because it's so unique and different at the time, and it's refreshing. That is something I want to see nowadays, is more stuff like this. But with that said, I'll see y'all next time. Leave a comment. What are some of, in your opinion, some of the most underrated PS3 games? But with that said, I'll see y'all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel. Stay safe out there.